today's episode of the Engaging Marketeer podcast, I am going to go through one of the biggest, most obvious mistakes that people make with their website that can absolutely cripple their rankings, their traffic, and their sales and leads that they are getting through search engines. Absolutely cripple it. But I'll be honest with you, I wasn't going to do this as a podcast. I wasn't going to do it because it's so obvious, such an obvious mistake, that I can't fathom why anybody would ever make it anymore. Why anybody would make this mistake still in today's day of, search engine optimization, Google, traffic, all that sort of stuff is so easy to look at, so much information out there. There's so many people saying the same thing that there's no way anybody is going to continue to make this same mistake. It's obvious. Until recently, when one of our clients who moved their website to a new agency did exactly this. They did exactly this. And it's not the client's fault, obviously, because their business is something else. They have a completely different business in a different industry, and they do what they do, and they're great at doing what they do, and we've used them before for ourselves, so we know they are great at what they do. It's the agency they've gone to that has made this mistake. The agency they've gone to has essentially crippled their website. And the worst thing about it is this agency that they've gone to advertises on their own website that they do SEO, they do digital marketing, they look after their clients' online presence, they make sure they are where they need to be in Google to get the traffic that they need, and they're on top of that because, clients who run businesses in their own industries, they don't know this stuff, and they shouldn't be expected to know this stuff. But when an agency advertises the fact that they do SEO, and they make this mistake that is so mind-numbingly obvious that it's crystal clear they don't have the first clue about SEO, why are they then telling people that they do? Why are they giving clients the false impression that they know what they're doing when they bloody well don't? So, the first example of somebody doing this was many years ago. So I'm going to go to this first example first because it kind of shows how the problem was back then, and then why it's still happening now, I don't know. Many years ago, I'm talking 7-8 years ago, we had a client who was in, ironically, technology recruitment. So they dealt with web developers, with digital marketing people. They recruited for this industry. So of all the people to make this mistake, it really shouldn't be them. So they were a recruitment company, and they were based in London. And they've been with us not that long, maybe 2 years. Maybe 2 years they've been with us. And we were looking after the digital marketing. We were looking after the SEO, the content on the website. They had the website built themselves in-house because they looked after it themselves. But we were looking after the SEO. We were looking after the content. We were looking after the rankings, making sure that they were getting more traffic, more people looking for it, more people coming into their website, more people making inquiries, and more people applying for the jobs that they had, and more people using them to list the jobs that they wanted. And everything was going swimmingly. Everything was going great. But then they decided they were going to get a new website. Now, straight away, when somebody says we're going to get a new website, there's a series of alarm bells that kick off. And the biggest one about that is, right, all of the content you've got on your website now, that's been existing before we got to you and since we got to you, and all the content we've created, all of these pages that we've created about your industry, about the sort of things that you do, the problems that you solve, the things that your potential clients are looking for online that they find on your website. Whatever you do, don't delete that. Don't delete that. Because if you delete that, all of these things that people are coming into your website on when they search for it in Google will not be there anymore. And if it's not there anymore, it won't appear in Google. And if it doesn't appear in Google, they're not going to find it. Your clients aren't going to find it. When they look for you, they're not going to come through to your website, and your traffic will just drop. It will stop. It's like if you've got a 10-page website, and those 10 pages are in Google for things that people are looking for, and you then delete those 10 pages and you just have a one-page website, that's 9 pages that have disappeared from Google. That's 9 pages that people could potentially find you on because they're coming through to your website. You wouldn't do that. It's like if you've got 10 doors into your business where people are coming from different parts of the world or different parts of the country or different parts of the street. You wouldn't suddenly brick up those doors and go, oh, you're not coming in anymore. I don't want you coming in, so I'm bricking that door up, I'm bricking that door up, I'm stopping people finding me. That would be a stupid thing to do. Yeah, online, that's what people do. They brick up the doors, they delete the content, they stop people coming into their website because they just think it's a good thing to do. Now, this company that had probably hundreds, possibly thousands of pages of content, and they got their new website designed. And we made it quite clear to them that all of the content from the website has to be ported across to the new one. It has to be ported across to the new one. We looked at the design they were creating. We looked at the layout. We made sure everything was working okay on that. I thought, yeah, everything's fine. What you're doing, it's fine. The way you're building it, I like it. It's okay. We'll do a proper review when it's gone live as well to make sure everything's in place. But don't forget, obviously, to port all of the content across, all of the job listings, all of the pages, all of the category pages, all of the industry articles, all of the industry content that we've been putting on over these years. Make sure all of that goes across and it's at the same URL so that when somebody searches for it in Google, they still find it again. And guess what they did? Have a guess what they did? Yeah, they deleted it all. All of it. Hundreds, maybe thousands of pages. Just deleted the whole bloody lot. And funnily enough, when their next report was due, all their traffic had disappeared. All the traffic had disappeared because all of the pages that people were finding in Google when they searched for the problems that they had that this client solved were no longer there. So they were no longer finding them. So they were no longer coming through to the website, so they were no longer getting any traffic and all their inquiries had stopped. And this client was very angry about that. They were very annoyed about that, and we had to go down to London, from Ellesmere Port to London on the train, for a meeting with them to explain what had happened, why it had happened, and how it could have been prevented. Now, their web designer, who was in-house, an in-house web designer, who did this, who we'd made it quite clear to, do not delete all of the content, do not delete all of the content, do not delete all of the content. Oh, he's deleted all of the content. Their web designer, who was meant to be in this meeting, called in sick that day. So he wasn't there. So we then had to explain to this rather large board of people, look, the reason all your traffic has stopped, the reason your rankings have disappeared, the reason your inquiries have just suddenly vanished, is because you deleted all of the content that we'd been adding over the last 2 years and that you had on your website for however many years it was before that. You just deleted it all, and we were quite clear with your designer. Your web guy, do not remove this, and he's just removed it all. So yes, you've lost all your rankings. Yes, you've lost all your traffic. Yes, you've lost all your inquiries, and this is the reason why. Thank you very much. It was very nice to come down and see you. So that was an awkward conversation. But after that, they understood. They understood. They realised the gravity of what had happened and why it had happened. And they set about fixing it and getting all the content back. Now, I've seen clients do this. Well, I've seen a lot of companies do this over the years where they'll have a new website designed and they'll make this mistake. But it hasn't happened for a long time. It hasn't happened for a long time. Until recently. When we've got a client who has been with us over 10 years. They've been with EngageWeb over 10 years. And they are on the first page of Google for all of the phrases that are related to their industry. Anybody that's looking for what they do or Googling the problems that they solve, they're there. They are there. They have got featured snippets for a variety of different phrases related to their industry. In fact, they've got one featured snippet, that's the search box at the top of Google. When you type into Google, Google decides that there's a page on the internet that is so important for that particular question or phrase that it puts it in a little box at the top, usually above the pay-per-click result. Sometimes it's below the pay-per-click result. Often it's above the pay-per-click result. So above the paid ad, above the number one listing, and it's a little box of information which answers your question. So if you were to go to Google and you would say, how old is the Queen? You get a box at the top of the Google that will give you the answer. They had one of those for one of their phrases. Well, they had more than one, to be honest with you. There was one in particular that had brought, what was it? It was something like 55,000 visits to the website over the past 6 or 7 years. 55,000 people had gone through to the website after searching for that particular phrase, which is mental. It's absolutely bonkers that you get that level of traffic for a small company that is local to our area, local to Chester. That they had that volume of traffic for that one blog, one article. And that was just one of many articles they had that was bringing traffic like that. So over the 10 years, they had hundreds and hundreds of pages on this website that were bringing people into the website like that. And we told them, look, you're having a new website. There's a new company that's going to design it for you. They've given you this great deal on your website, your branding. They've given you a great deal. They're going to do your SEO for you. You don't need SEO from us anymore. That's absolutely fine. You can go with them. No problem. Thank you for working with us for the past 10 years. But please, whatever you do, make sure you don't delete all the content, because the content is absolutely critical to the people that are coming to your website. You know, your traffic is just going to stop if you delete all of this content. And they said to us, the new company that's doing it, they said they don't need the content. What? They said what? No, listen to me. If you delete that content, those thousands and thousands of visitors you're getting every month are just going to stop. Your traffic will just stop. You won't get the traffic, you won't get the rankings, you won't get the inquiries you're getting now. It will just cease to be. Yeah, they don't need the content. They don't want it. Don't bother. Don't extract it. Don't send it to us. We're not interested. They don't want it. And that's exactly what they did. They deleted the content, all of it. And this business's website went from, I think, something like an 800-900 page website to about a 20-30 page website overnight. And nothing was redirected. None of the pages were redirected. They didn't point them somewhere else. They just removed them, just deleted them. And they didn't even keep the Google Analytics. They didn't even keep the analytics. Why do we need that? Why do we need to keep traffic history? Well, it's probably a good bloody thing you're not keeping traffic history, mate, because if you show the client where their traffic was and where it is now, they'll go, what the fucking hell happened there? Why have we suddenly lost all our traffic? They might start asking some questions. And they bloody well should start asking some questions. Because all their traffic's gone. Gone. Poof. Like Kaiser bloody Sose just disappeared. And that client's business that was built up in Google for the last decade by EngageWeb to be where it is now, so that they are getting traffic for all the different queries related to their business, all the different problems that their clients have that they solve. They're getting all of this traffic. Suddenly that has all stopped. It's all gone. All of it. Because this agency that says they know about SEO, when in fact they freaking well don't, has deleted all the content to the website, ruining their rankings, ruining their traffic, ruining their inquiries, ruining their leads. And don't get me wrong, the website they've done for them, it's a nice website. It's a nice looking site. I'd be proud of that. It looks really good. But that's because they are a web design agency, not a digital marketing company. Big difference. No SEO company who knows even the most slightest thing about SEO would have deleted all of that content. No, none of them. Nobody would have ever done that. And they have ruined that client's position in search. They have ruined that client's traffic. They have ruined that client's leads that they'd be getting from Google. All because they deleted the content. So if there's one thing you take out of this, one message you take out of this particular podcast, it's that if you get a new website, whether you do it yourself, whether you have the existing web designer you've got do you a new website, whether you move to a new web designer, that's usually where the problems arrive. When you move to a new web designer, do not delete the content you've got on your current website. Do not delete the pages you have on your current website. Because any rankings you have, any traffic you have, any inquiries you're getting from Google now will stop. They'll just stop overnight. And you'll wonder why. And if you've got somebody who's looking after your website for you that's doing this, they'll probably wonder why as well, because they won't have a bloody clue what they've done. Do not delete the content. Always ask your new web designer, can you make sure that any pages that I've got, any blogs that I've got, any content that I've got, any features, any articles, anything on my website, that it's on a corresponding page on the new website and the content is still there, please. Make sure that I don't want anyone to be clicking through from Google and to get a page not found error. I don't want that. I want them to come through to the content they found, because if I'm getting people coming through to my website now, I want to make sure that continues when I get a new website, because the last thing you want is to have a brand new website that looks really cool, but nobody can find because your web designer has absolutely ballsed it up. Make sure that doesn't happen, or you can destroy the business you're getting from your website. So I've been Darren. You've been listening to the Engaging Marketeer podcast. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give me a 5-star rating. Please leave me a review if you'd like to as well. And obviously, please follow me as well and recommend me to your friends and family. I would really appreciate it. I will see you on the next podcast.